You know the feeling, right? Every single developer does. It's that sinking sensation when you open up a file and just realize you're about to spend hours, maybe even days, trying to figure out what's going on before you can even think about writing a single new line of code. Well, that feeling? Today, we're going to dive deep into why it happens and, more importantly, how to get rid of it for good. This is our explainer on the absolute necessity of writing clean code, drawing on the foundational principles from Robert C. Martin's classic book. We're going to cover the real-world consequences of messy code, what it means to treat coding like a true craft, and we'll introduce the crucial Boy Scout rule. Ready? Let's get into it.
All right, first things first, we have to face the elephant in the room. Or maybe it's more like the monster in the closet of every single software project. I'm talking about the specter of bad code.
You know, that's such a perfect word for it, isn't it? Waiting. It feels exactly like that, slogging through this swamp of tangled logic and names that make zero sense. And look, it's more than just frustrating. It can literally kill a company. There's this famous cautionary tale from back in the late 80s about a business with a real killer app. I mean, this thing was a huge success. But here's the catch. They rushed it out the door, and the code was a total mess. As they kept adding features, that mess just got bigger and bigger until they just couldn't manage it anymore. The whole company went under. Not because of the market, not because of competition, but because of its own bad code. And this is the classic lie we all tell ourselves, right? I'll just get it working for now, I'll clean it up later. Come on, we all know how that story ends. The pressure for the next thing piles on, and later just never happens. And what are we left with? A ticking time bomb sitting right there in our code base. So, this ticking time bomb, it has real, tangible costs. We're not just talking about a minor headache for developers. No, this is a direct, catastrophic drain on the entire team's productivity. And you can really see how this plays out over time. It's a total death spiral. A team kicks off a new project, and in year one, they are flying. Productivity is through the roof. But then, the mess starts to build up. Progress slows down to a crawl. And by year three, forget it. Every tiny change becomes this huge, monumental effort that breaks 5 other things. The team's productivity literally grinds to a halt, getting closer and closer to zero. And here's where it gets even worse. You get caught in this vicious cycle. So productivity tanks. What does management do? Well, the obvious thing, right? Let's hire more people. But the new folks, they don't know the tangled design. They're under pressure to just ship stuff, so they end up making the mess even bigger. They actually make the project fall apart faster. Eventually, the team just can't take it anymore. They rebel. They demand a complete rewrite, the grand redesign in the sky. But this is almost always a trap. You get a new team to start from scratch, but guess what? The old team still has to keep the lights on, maintaining that old messy system, which is still changing. These rewrites can take years, and by the time they're finished, the new system is often just as much of a mess as the old one. Okay, so that's a pretty bleak picture, right? A total disaster. So where do we go from here? Well, it's time to stop looking at the problem out there and start looking inward. Let's talk about our own responsibility in all of this. I mean, it's so easy to point fingers, isn't it? We blame the crazy deadlines. We blame the requirements that change every 5 minutes. We blame managers who just don't get it. But are they really the ones to blame for the mess in the code? Now, this might be a tough pill to swallow, but here's the powerful argument. The fault is ours. It's on us, the developers. When we knowingly make a mess, we are being unprofessional. Period. Because at the end of the day, we are the only ones who can truly control the quality of the code. Okay, think about it like this. This is the key. Imagine a doctor. Would you ever want them to skip washing their hands before your surgery just because they're running behind schedule? No way, that would be malpractice. Well, it is our professional duty to defend our code with that same level of seriousness. It's our job to explain the risks and to refuse to ship a mess. That is what being a professional is all about. All right, so we've established why clean code is so critical, but what does clean even mean? What does it actually look like? Well, for that, let's hear from some of the absolute masters of the craft. First up, Bjarne Stroustrup, the guy who invented C++. He says clean code is all about focus. It's elegant and efficient because it does one thing, and it does that one thing really well. Every function, every class has one job. It's not trying to be a Swiss Army knife. It's more like a perfectly sharp scalpel, designed for one specific task.
Then you've got Greedy Booch, who gives us this awesome metaphor from the world of writing. He says clean code should read like well-written prose. Think about it. When you're reading a good book, you're not thinking about the individual words, right? You're just lost in the story. Clean code should feel like that. The intent should be so obvious that you just get it. You don't have to spend hours trying to decode it.
Then there's Big Dave Thomas, who comes at it from a super practical angle. For him, it's simple. You can't verify it with tests. It's not clean. You look at a variable name and have no idea what it's for. Not clean. It's tangled up with a million other things, so you're terrified to change it? Yeah, definitely not clean.
And finally, Michael Feathers just cuts right to the heart of the matter. It all comes down to one word: care. Clean code looks like it was written by someone who actually gives a damn. It's about craftsmanship. It's the work of someone who took the time to think, to pay attention to the details, and to leave things better for the next person. It is an act of professional pride. Okay, so how do we put all this wisdom into practice? Let's wrap this up with 2 really powerful mindsets that you can start using today: thinking like an author and acting like a scout.
First up, the author. Remember this, you are not just writing instructions for a machine. You are writing for other people. You're writing for your teammates, for the person who joins the project 6 months from now, and yeah, you're writing for your future self. You are an author, and your #1 job is to be clear for your readers.
And just how important are those readers? Well, this number says it all. 10 to 1. That's the ratio of time we spend reading code versus writing it. Just let that sink in for a second. We spend the vast majority of our time as developers trying to understand existing code. So making your code readable, it isn't some nice to have. It's the single biggest thing you can do to make everyone, including yourself, faster.
And this brings us to the scout, and what might be the most powerful practical piece of advice in this entire explainer. It's the Boy Scout rule. Always leave the campground cleaner than you found it. That's it. It's that simple. Every time you're in a file, just make one small improvement. Rename a confusing variable. Split a long function in 2. It doesn't have to be a huge rewrite, just one tiny thing. Because if everyone on the team does that every single day, the codebase can only get better. Code rot becomes impossible.
So that's really the big takeaway here. This isn't about some grand, perfect system tomorrow. It's about the small, professional acts of care you can take today. So I'll leave you with this question. Think about the code you're working on right now. What's one small thing you can clean up? Because that's where it all starts.